What's up, everybody? It's your boy JR Lee, and I'm back for another powerful, legendary episode of Fly on the Wall Show. Actually, scratch that. Today is the Fly on the Wall Street edition. I'm joined by the legendary Peter Tuchman. And Peter, they call you the Einstein of Wall Street. For the people who may not know who Peter is, can you introduce yourself, please, sir?
Sure. My name is Peter Tuchman. I am a trader on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. I've been doing that for 137 years. And I have the nickname Einstein of Wall Street. Obviously, you can see from my hair, I'm by no means as smart as he is, but surely I've got the look, no question about it. But that's, look, I am a number of things. That is the first thing I'll share with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is amazing, Peter. And you said 137 years, but next month is going to be your 37th anniversary, man. How did you see yourself being in finance? And if you did you see yourself doing this for so long?
I did not see myself. You know what? It's hard to say that way. I mean, there were different parts of my journey where I always was an entrepreneur. I was always doing some kind of a hustle or business. I grew up in the 70s. 70s were a different time. I grew up in New York City. My parents are immigrants here from Eastern Europe. They lived through the Holocaust. I grew up in New York City, and I had a privileged background. And but I was always a hustler. I was always doing stuff. I was always, working with people and coming up with ideas. So even though Wall Street per se and finance per se maybe weren't on the agenda earlier on, over the years, there were different things that probably would have pointed in that direction. After high school, I spent a year in Israel working there. I was sort of thinking about getting into agriculture, and that didn't turn out to be. But it was a wonderful part of my journey. It was sort of opened me up to travel and to different kinds of people and whatnot. And then I came back. I went to college. My initial degree in the University of Massachusetts was one of agriculture, plant and soil science. That was one of my loves growing up. I love trees and I love plants. And so that was potentially going to be my journey, but it turned out that I didn't see a future in it. So I kind of pivoted. Right. And then I ended up getting a degree in finance and international business in college. I have an older brother who is actually now 90 years old. And he was a pretty well-known guy in business on Wall Street and in the oil business. And he had always sort of pushed me towards that direction. And so I figured, let me cover all my bases. Let's see what's going on with that. So I pivoted in college, got a degree in international business and finance, came back to New York City and proceeded to try and get an MBA, although I never finished it. Accounting really wasn't my thing, although I've done accounting along the way in different businesses I've been in. I came back to New York. I started trading commodities. That sort of was a little dipping my toe into Wall Street. I was getting an MBA, and which I didn't finish. But I did study a lot about business back then, but more book stuff. And then I got into the music business. I had done that at the end of college. I traveled around the world managing a number of great jazz bands. Archie Shepp was one of them, was sort of a avant-garde expat who had worked with John Coltrane in jazz. If you know who he is, most people do. He was one of the great avant-garde jazz players. Archie Shepp was his protege, and we worked together. I managed him for a while. Then I came back to New York, and while I was trading commodities, while I was getting an MBA, I ran a record store in Lower Manhattan on Bleecker Street. And so that was probably my first road into entrepreneurship and into business. I opened up a record store that was very cool at the time. It was 1980. It was modeled after a European record store where you could go in and listen to records before you bought them. And I mean, it was a different time, right? I mean, so much has changed in these short 30 or 40 years, but it was a coffee bar. It was an African art gallery, and it was a music record store. And we sold awesome, cool merchandise made by young artists about jazz. And it became the hangout of all the jazz musicians. I was managing a number of the jazz clubs in New York City, Village Vanguard and whatnot. So I was in the business. I was embedded in it. I had a record company, and I would travel around managing bands throughout Europe doing jazz festivals. So that was one of my most exciting parts of my career, beginning of my career. It was very businessy, but it was more I think the thread you'll see through my life has been the human element and interactions with people and all different kinds of people and all different within all different businesses. But that led me to, what did that lead me to? So I ended, look, that was 1980. If you weren't around yet, but
Yeah.
1980 was a pretty wild time in New York City, and I was doing all kinds of, so I had the record store. I was getting an MBA. I was trading commodities, and I was in the music business. And then, the 80s came along, and the 80s were pretty wild, Studio 54 and whatnot like that, just to date myself a little bit. And I hung into that business for about a year and a half, 2 years. And then sort of, the wild, crazy life got the better of me. And I decided it was time to get out of town. So I ended up going to West Africa. I had a friend who I had met along the journey in Europe who ran an oil company in West Africa. And it was time to sort of get on the move a little bit. So I went there. I ended up sort of honing some of my skills in business and accounting in the People's Republic of Benin, as well as my human skills, right? I mean, I got very embedded in the culture there and in business there and with the people and music and hanging out with in the villages over the weekend. It was an extraordinary time, and it was something that I'm very grateful I did, because it added to my wild and crazy resume, right? So I ended up doing that for a year and a half until I virtually outstayed my welcome over there. And then I came back to the States, and it was May 2020-ish of 1985. And it was sort of time. I was 27 years old, and it was time to sort of, get serious about my future and stuff like that. And my father, who was a well-known doctor in New York City, had a patient who ran he was a partner in a Wall Street firm. And with sort of a little nudging by my older brother, I said, let me give it a shot. Let me start down on Wall Street and see what it offers me. And I had, to be on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, which went on to become my life. On day one, I sort of found myself, on May 23rd, 1985, when I arrived down there. I started at the bottom. I started as a summer job as a teletypist. And that was the beginning of my career. I set foot on the floor, and and the rest is history.
Well, first of all, that's a powerful story, and the transitioning is amazing. First of all, you lived quite a life. I'm pretty sure the story is still being written. But you said quite a few different things I want to touch upon. First, I want to talk about like the power of like environment, right? So you first of all, you've been blessed to be able to travel to West Africa, to Europe. You're from New York. You say you grew up in kind of like a privileged or a comfortable home. Talk about the power of environment for you. How important is environment for you, for Peter, and then for your career as well?
So look, first of all, look, we are a product of our upbringing. We are a product of family. We are a product of the things that we are taught when we are young, the things that seem to be important. That is a big, big part of how we grow up. It's our backbone. It's our comfort level. It's the unconditional love, if that happens to be part of your journey. And for some, it's unfortunately not. And that does fracture the spirit in so many ways. That for me has been one of the backbones of me, persevering through lots of challenges. As I said, my parents were Holocaust survivors, so they grew up in Eastern Europe. Being Jewish, they were incarcerated in prison, and most of their family members were killed, and so they had deep challenges, which there are generations throughout the world who have experienced that, as you must know, who have had those challenges of being isolated for who you were and being persecuted for who you were. And so, some surrender to it, some transcend it, some fight it until they are able to find their peace, serenity, and strength, inner strength, because the resilience of the human spirit has been seen throughout history. And so they found that. They found each other. After the war, they fell in love. They met and fell in love, and that was a deep strength. So I grew up in a deeply loving home. They lived into their 90s and were married for 66 years. They were able to find their American dream here right after going through what they did. They arrived on these shores in 1949 without a penny. My father had studied medicine after the war in Europe, and they had each other, and together they built a future and a home and a career and a family, and instilled in us, me and my brother, unconditional love and the importance of family and education and the human element. That was one of my father's biggest messages and missions as a doctor, was to understand that one person to another, holding each other's hand together, can really share an experience, can work with each other, empower each other, and heal each other in so many different ways. So, look, I had a brother. Unfortunately, I have two brothers. I had one brother who was a little 2 years older than me, who, sort of took the experience my parents gave us and utilized it in a different way. We had different journeys. He unfortunately died of pancreatic cancer really, really young, in his 60s. But he became a well-known documentary filmmaker. And also, the one thing that is the thread between us, although we were so different, was the importance of the human element. He was a storyteller, as am I, right? He went out and he made films. He did the film, the Man from Hope, that got President Clinton elected president at the Democratic convention. He did films about cross cultures. He did a film right before he died, which never got finished, taking religious figures from around the world, imams and rabbis and priests and cardinals, and brought them together, actually, in Europe in a conference, and tried to understand the spirituality, the difference in spirituality, and the consistency and the similarities in people's relationship to God, came through the religious figures that we embrace in our lives. So, I'm kind of learning a little more as I talk to you. I love the questions. Thank you, about how we were similar, because I kind of thought we were kind of different. But anyway, there are some similars. And so, addressing your original question, I think the similarities that came out of my upbringing and my growth were the importance of one human being to another, right? It is the thread that sort of, and the desire to empower each other, right? One of my, I've grown through my journey, and my journey has had bobs and weaves and ups and downs and failures and success. And, we always learn more from failure than we do from success, right? And I by no means believe I've gotten to where I have on my own. I'm a team player. I believe in it's not about, who dies with the most toys. That really doesn't mean really shit. It's a matter of how we can impact each other's lives in a positive way. That's why you and I are talking. And that's sort of been my, you're catching me after a 37-year career on Wall Street that's had ebbs and flows and ups and downs and triumphs and failures, that this past week I was actually honored by the New York Stock Exchange, being asked to ring the closing bell.
Congratulations.
After 37 years, I was part of a group. There was a new global ad campaign done by ICE and the Stock Exchange, Intercontinental Exchange. They brought together 5 influencers. Their new campaign was, as we're talking about it, connecting people and opportunity. Yes. Right? I mean, why we're here, that's what we're talking about. That is the future in so many ways. And so their ad campaign was connecting people and opportunity. And so they brought together 5 or 6 different influencers from around the world, from different walks of life and different missions, and brought us together to do a commercial. It's extraordinary. Everyone should check it out. It's called People and Opportunity. And then all of us were asked to join at the New York Stock Exchange and ring the closing bell on Tuesday. People can see it on my Instagram. I've posted it so proudly. But it really highlights where I've come from and where I'm going, and the importance to me about, no matter who we are, education, motivation, inspiration, and teamwork. Putting together people and opportunity. Not everybody has the same opportunities. I have been blessed to have so many. Some I've searched out, some have been bestowed upon me, some I've lucked upon and stumbled upon. But it's become important to me, being humbled enough to know that so much of what I've been given has been God's gift, and has been a function of all the wonders of my life and the good things. And trust me, I've not always been the most virtuous of persons, and I've had my failures and successes and stumbles and mistakes, right? But as we always say, it's not a matter of how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up and go on. But I think the most important message in any business or anything is the human element, and how we can raise each other up and share, and present opportunity to everyone, and hope that we can instill that confidence so that they can take that opportunity and run with it.
Absolutely, Peter. And that was well said. First of all, I can tell that you're a very grateful person, and gratitude is written all over you for the different things that you've been able to go to. During the conversation, you talked about a lot about, failure and success. A lot of times we as people, we only see the success. There's been a lot of ups and downs. What were some of the ups and downs in your life that, led you to where you are now, that some people may not know, or whatever you feel comfortable sharing? What were some ups that you maybe had to, overcome in your life to get you to where you are now?
Well, look, we do sometimes, life has sort of, it's a journey, right? Whether there were times in college where I was not, didn't have direction and I got lost my way, whether it was times along the way where my messaging was not clear. We meet people who may compromise our integrity in different ways. And I don't want to be specific. I don't need to be, but these are the challenges that everybody goes through in no matter where you come from. It's a matter of what you do with it, right? Acknowledging mistakes and moving on, taking a stumble and standing back up, brushing yourself off and moving on. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake as long as we admit it and try and do better the next time, right? That's the best we can do, because whether you are have been handed a really nice menu, or a compromised menu, or a troublesome menu, or have had nothing but obstacles in your life, it's what you do with it, right? There are so many people. I mean, social media is an amazing place for us to share our message. And there are so many people on social media that I've met along my journey, who have had way harder time. Look, I'm humbled and honest about the things that have been bestowed upon me by my upbringing, my family, some of which I squandered and some of which I've embraced, right? And I'm very clear to search out those other people who are not as fortunate as I in some of the things, but who I can learn from. I am forever a student, whether it's in my career on Wall Street, whether it's with people and with life's journey, spiritual, emotional, physical, financial, and whatnot. I am forever a student, right? And so, I think one of the fun things, while I'm maybe a little aged out of social media, I'm very young at heart. I consider myself a long timer, not an old timer. And so I've been really blessed to come in contact with people whose journeys have been totally different than mine, but have been, but who I can learn from, who I consider my mentors. I may be their mentor in so many different ways, but who I can learn from, forever be a student of the human condition, right? And every day, wake up grateful and be ready to learn, right? Because there is clear. I don't know shit. I really don't. I'm just I'm a guy on the bus like everybody else who's trying to do the best they can with what they got.
Absolutely. Peter, what I love about this conversation so far is that you're called Einstein of Wall Street, and you worked on Wall Street for over 37 years, but we haven't even talked about Wall Street yet, right? I think that's a powerful. Most people just have you want to talk about finance, but I like to get into the mind of the person, and you have a beautiful mind, man. But just to talk about Wall Street for a little bit, what's that environment like for you? I know you might see people might see it on TV or just images of a lot of screaming and high energy and yelling and stuff. Like, what's that environment for you? How has that changed over the course of 37 years?
Well, look, it's the yelling and screaming and the adrenaline and the human element have been what attracted me to it in the beginning. When I walked on the floor that year, 37 years ago, I knew it was for me, and I knew this was a place that I loved. I didn't know that I would thrive there and fail there and succeed there, and where my journey has taken me over the last number of years. Right? I didn't know any of that. I knew that there were certain cores of the business I liked. I liked the adrenaline. I liked the excitement, and I liked being in the room where it happened. That's sort of an exciting thing for me. And the numbers and the people and the game have been something that I've thrived on. What's exciting for me, what's changed? Well, everything's changed. Look, our lives, not in your lifetime, we've seen technology, take over our lives, and social media, and some things are good about it, some are not. It disengages interpersonal interactions in a big way, and that's the downside. It opens up other doors, and that's the upside. Technology is on Wall Street has been a big advancement, but in my opinion, has been something that us humanists, and I will call myself that, something I learned from my dad, has been a hardship for me, because I don't like to sit behind a computer and just look at people on a Zoom call and whatnot. I like to meet them face to face, shake their hand and interact on that way. So while it's technology is something we can't fight. I resisted it for the longest time in the world. I was recently chatting with someone. I was the last guy on the floor of the exchange to go from, I don't know if I have a pad here, one of my old pads, but, from the Wall Street trading places type of pad to the new handheld computer technology. I resisted that as long as I could, and so unfortunately, while it used to be a place where people, if they look at the early movies or early things on Google about what Wall Street looked like in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, where there were thousands and thousands of brokers and support staff screaming and yelling, open outcry, auction markets, it's gone by the way that so many different businesses has, whether it's the newspaper business or the advertising business or whatnot. All businesses have sort of had to go through their transitions where there are less people needed because of the technology and algorithms and whatnot. And so those that survive are the survivors of the fittest, right? I mean, people go on to do other jobs and they find their relevance in other ways. I've done that on mine. Many of my coworkers who I miss dearly, are no longer on Wall Street. When I got there, there were 1,600 brokers and probably about 5,000 or 6,000 support staff, in the form of squads and reporters and runners and clerks and market makers. Well, due to technology and the ability for one handheld computer to send out thousands of orders that used to take hundreds of people to execute, they are no longer there. And I miss that. I miss that excitement. But you know what? You resist it as long as you can. You either get knocked over and pushed down and moved off into into the graveyard of brokers, or you make yourself reinvent, become relevant in a different way. And that's what I've done as far as trying to educate, motivate, and inspire young people. I've embraced this new amazing retail community that has surfaced since COVID and since, the advances of the free trading app and, the democratization of the investment and trading community, right? In the old days, the only people who could trade the market were accredited investors. And those were only sort of the rich, crusty characters in the world. And now everybody with $50 and an iPhone can invest. And while some people, don't maybe think that's a great thing, I think it's an amazing thing. I think it's an amazing thing that virtually anybody can now invest in their future, create generational wealth, as long as they get educated on what Wall Street's all about, investing and trading is all about. You started this conversation talking about successes and failures, and everybody posting pictures of them with stacks of $10,000 bills sitting on lying down all over their Bugattis because they made a bunch of money trading Dogecoin. And the reality of that is that's maybe a handful of people who really are those winners. For the most part, people who have dabbled in this space have been unfortunately losers. So it was that reality to me that made me sort of realize, okay, well, it's, as somebody who's been there a while, who has experience, who is a bit of a humanist, it's my responsibility to try and educate everybody that this is not a get-rich-quick scheme, that Wall Street is incredibly exciting, incredibly motivational and inspiring, and an amazing way to make new disposable income, to find a career in investing and trading and branding and advertising and marketing and in sports and in retail and in fashion, whatever you want to be, it lives on Wall Street, right? Everything, we are the most powerful consumer society in history, right? Whether it's social media, whether it's retail and fashion, whether it's sports, whether it's gaming, whether it's gambling, whatever it may be, all of that finds its way onto Wall Street. Whether you want to get into e-commerce and be an eBay, PayPal, and Amazon. If you want to get into sports, in Nike and Under Armour. If you want to get into retail, Walmart and Target. If you want to get into luxury retail, it's Louis Vuitton and Nike. If you want to, there's a home for everybody somewhere. You look at one of my great new friends and inspirations is Wall Street Trapper, right? Wall Street Trapper. I'm sure you know who he is. He's somebody who came from the streets of New Orleans and was handed a really rough stack, and ended up in prison and came out of there, with every bit of gratitude and knowledge that he could strum up from wherever he could get it. And he came out and turned his life around and the life of thousands and probably millions of people, to realize that there is a world out there that no matter where you came from, you can embrace and learn and educate and benefit from, creating generational wealth and investment in your future and in family and knowledge, right? And he and I have become friends, and we're working together on a number of projects. But there are two people from completely different sides of the tracks, who have found themselves to Wall Street. I know that one of his great taglines is "Wall Street's starting to look like him again," and I embrace that in so many ways, because at the end of the day, as I started this conversation here, is the democratization of the investment and trading community. Is now anybody with the knowledge, with the smarts, with the motivation, and $10 and an iPhone can trade the market, can invest in their future. And it's my responsibility to educate that person, no matter where they come from, to be able to be successful. Now that everyone's been invited to this party, I don't want them to come and show up and get drunk and drink 10 shots of tequila and then blame me that I didn't warn them that 10 shots of tequila is too much. I want them to be at this party and be successful at the party, to network at the party, to learn from those people out there who are sharing their knowledge, dropping knowledge, and take that knowledge seriously. Realize this is not a game. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. That anybody right now who is willing to learn and embrace what's going on here can become successful and learn how to navigate this journey, this Wall Street thing, and investing successfully.
Absolutely. And wow, you said quite a lot, man. But shout out to Wall Street Trap, and shout out to everything that you said, putting the power back to our hands, right? You said something about mentorship, about education. I also know that you have a global trading academy. You want to talk a little bit about that and what is that you're doing that in your academy?
Sure. So what ended up happening. Look, I've had many different. My career has taken many different turns along the way on Wall Street. whether I was a retail broker, I was doing institutional work or whatnot. But what ended up happening in March of 2020 was, first of all, I got COVID, right? And I was very, very ill. And that was a pivotal, bone crushing time in my life. And I'm still suffering a lot of the long-term effects of that journey. But it kind of, it kind of humbled me in a way to realize, oh shit, life is precious. And then I sort of looked at that through the eyes of my career and what was going on Wall Street. I kind of like to look at the big picture of things. And, it became clear to me when in May of 2020, that when the doors opened to the world and to the global retail community, that they could now invest in the stock market, that it was my responsibility to try and educate them, because I knew that everyone was showing pictures of themselves lying on a Bugatti, having made a shitload of money in Dogecoin, when the reality was they weren't, that there were just a few people like that. And I was getting phone calls from people going, oh my God, I got caught up in GameStop at $400. And, I blew up my trading account. Oh, I'd love to know what you know about Wall Street. Oh, I hear that it's a get rich quick scheme. I want to get rich. I mean, and so I realized that, what an amazing way to pull myself up from the physical and emotional and spiritual illness I was suffering in COVID. And the best way to do that is to be of service to others, right? That's something I've learned along the way. And none of the things I say, I didn't make up any of this shit. I've learned it from my mentors and my teachers and my educators and along and this journey, we call life. So I reached out to a friend of mine, David Green, who has been a friend of mine since 1985. We started on Wall Street together. He retired at 38 years old, having been a market maker, and he's spent his whole career teaching people about technical analysis and trading the markets. And while I'm a broker on the floor of the stock exchange, and I'm under restrictions through regulation, I'm not allowed to really teach, but I'm allowed to motivate and inspire. And so I collaborated with my friend David Green, one of the great teachers in the technical analysis space. We created Wall Street Global Trading Academy, and it is an online course teaching technical analysis, risk management, money management in sort of a fun, inspiring way. It's not a bunch of boring slides. It's me talking and David Green, interacting on about 21 videos, 9 hours of video, talking about the language of the stock market, about setting up your charts, about risk management, meaning stop orders, and how to trade this market successfully to protect the downside risk that is the reality of trading, which a lot of people who are in the generation of everything's going to the moon don't realize, that stocks just don't go up. They also go down, and it's money is real. And there's no honor in losing money. Loss porn is actually, not something that people should be embracing. Being successful here is something that they should be looking to invest in their future, create generational wealth and whatnot. So I chose to collaborate with David because David is a master. He's my go-to teacher in the tech. A lot of people know this stuff. We didn't invent it. It's been going on for years, and a lot of people know it. And a lot of people are, not everyone's a great teacher. As you've known, I'm sure in your life, there are people, who know shit and who are good at stuff, but they may not be able to impart that on others. David's a great teacher. So we collaborated. We created this online course called WSGTA.com, Wall Street Global Trading Academy. And we put together this course that's really amazing. You can know, it's for everybody. It's people who don't know, anything about Wall Street, who really want to learn it from the beginning to the end. We can really put all the probability in your favor that you'll be able to trade successfully over 3 to 6 months. It's not something that happens overnight. Our differentiator is we mentor and coach all our students live every Thursday night. Everyone who buys our course gets a live Zoom call with us on Thursday, and we've created a really fun, interactive community. Everyone helps each other out. If people have been in with David has a live chat room. He does boot camps once a month for all those people who buy the course. They get a live free week in David's, chat room, which is live trading, the whole course in 1 week in person, which will really jumpstart your ability to learn how to do this. And then every Thursday night we do a Zoom call where we answer everyone's questions. Everybody learns differently. Some people love to learn in person. Obviously, COVID has really thrown a bit of a wrench in that story. Some people like to just sort of sit at home and learn, but I think everyone in a business like this benefits from that human personal interaction. Being able, you'll get to a section look. The bottom line is you can't cherry pick what you want to learn. You've got to learn. We put together a really beautiful course that'll take you from zero to hero on this thing. You've got to learn it all, but there will be times where you get to something that you just don't understand, right? There are things that I don't understand on a daily basis. And so what we thought was to be a differentiator in a space where there's a lot of education out there. And we're not people who, advise you on investing. We're not there to pick stocks for you. There's a lot of that going on. Right? People, and I'm not sure all of those people have the best motivation, right? Telling you to buy this, buy that. That's not what we do. Our belief is if you learn once, you can earn for a lifetime. It's, that old adage, right? I mean, if you're hungry, I can give you a box of food or I can teach you how to grow food. If you want to learn about Wall Street and creating some generational wealth and disposable income, and not everyone who takes our course is going to be a trader. Some people may want to learn how to trade to make $100 a week, $200 or $300 a month. Some people want to do this for a living. Some people want to have this on their resume if they're young people in college. Some people just want to be able to have that conversation because everyone's talking about Wall Street. Wall Street is the flavor of the moment, right? It's the favorite of everybody's life at the moment, right? And so to have be able to have a seat at the table, to talk about technical analysis, wealth management, money management, to learn about technical analysis, to know if you want to dabble in the market, how to protect your investment, not to be that 88th percentile of people who try to day trade and lose. We want you to be, now that you've been invited to this party, we'd like you to navigate it successfully. So that's the course. It's fun. I welcome everybody on. It's very personable. It's very accessible. It's very affordable. And it's fun. And it's, it's me and David Green teaching. And I invite everyone to give it a shot.
Absolutely, man. Who wouldn't want to be mentored by the two of you guys, man? You spoke a lot about, not knowing everything, having teachers, having mentors, having guides. How important is mentorship in general?
It's everything. Look, there are a lot of opportunities out there. We have to sometimes be pointed in the right direction. It's like, once again, not something I invented, but one of the great lines is if you find something you love to do, you'll never work a day in your life. There is so much stuff out there, right? Whether it's on the internet, on social media or whatever, there are lots of opportunities out there if you want to go out and learn them, whether it's learning to be in this e-commerce business, whether it's learn day trading, whether it's investing in your future, whether it's branding and advertising, whether it's reselling sneakers, what StockX, whatever it may be, whether it's getting into fashion, whether it's, whatever it may gaming, there's so much going on, right? And there's so much to learn and there's so many teachers out there. And sometimes we just need to find something. Within the business I'm in the nooks and crannies of Wall Street, which is why I go there every morning, no matter what. It's an environment where I am stimulated by the visuals of the branding of all the stocks going by on the ticker tape. You come and visit me one day, you'll see it. It's one of the most inspiring rooms in the world because it's sort of the delta of everything we do. We are big consumers. We all. Young people ask me, what they should invest in. And I tell them, I ask you that same question. You guys go to school, high school, college, wherever you are, go to walk down the street, see what sneakers everybody's wearing, see what computers they use, see what phone they're on, see what see what social media they're using. Are they gaming? Are they playing? Are they going to sports? And realize that all those are basically are companies that work on Wall Street. If there's a story out there if you like the Apple story, I saw, I'm a firm believer in investing in stocks, not stuff. I talk about that a lot. I saw a post on Instagram this morning. I don't remember what it was, but it said, you can go out there and for $167, you can go buy yourself a pair of Apple AirPods or you can go buy yourself one share of Apple stock, right? There are things you can go out there and buy that the minute you buy them, they lose value. And there are things that you can go out there and buy that will increase in value. And that's what it's all about, investing in your future, right? Look, we are a slave in so many ways to what we see visually. Everybody wants more, and everyone wants nice stuff and all that stuff, right? And a lot of it is just sort of BS. It's we want to be successful. We want to find something that makes us happy. We want to be with family. We want to learn. We want to educate ourselves. We want to find opportunity, and it's all out there for the taking, right? No matter who you are at this point. Obviously, everybody has their own struggles, but there are so many people out there trying to wake us up to what's good out there, right? There are mentors, who inspire me, who I go to when I'm wondering about gratitude and self-doubt and self-esteem. There are people I go to when I'm wondering about how to trade the market on a given day. There are people who I go to when I'm trying to start a new business. There are people I go to, young people who are so bright, who are starting new apps and companies, whether it's, supporting Gen Z women or it's supporting young traders. There are people out there in the NFT world who, I don't know that much. I know a lot about a lot of different things, but there are people who know, whether they're younger than me, older than me, wherever they came from, who can teach me something. So I beg people to be forever a student, of life, of the markets, of business, right? There is something out there for everybody. You just got to go out there and search and find it, right? And if you don't find it on round one, find it on round two. The game's got 9 innings. There's a lot of time. The game has 18 holes. There's if you don't find it on the first round, keep digging. Find something that gets you up in the morning. Whether it's music, whether it's fashion, whether it's e-commerce, whatever, it's investing and trading, or advertising and marketing. Find it. Find something that gets you up in the morning, right? And go for it. Give it a shot. You won't know until you try. And if you try and fail, try again.
Absolutely, man. Find something that you want to do, that you're passionate about, and try again, even if you fail. And Peter, the last question I'm going to ask, I value your time and I appreciate you, man, is, what is your definition of success? And now, Peter, success varies throughout your life, ups and downs. It may not be monetary. What's your definition of success?
Look, it's not monetary. Although surely being, success is about fulfillment. Success is about teamwork. Success is about empowering others. Success is fulfillment is the best word to do it. Success without fulfillment is empty. And I didn't make that line up either, as I said to you, right? It's like there are people out there who came way before me who I've learned from and I've considered mentors. Yeah, look, surely, there's that terrible line, and I would never want to, and I hope it's really not, it's attributed to him, but it should be not attributed to him, is I've been rich and I've been poor, and having more money is better, but money is not a calibrator of success by any means. It's empowering others. First of all, it's being of service. It's finding gratitude. It's fulfillment meaning that, I love doing things together with others. I don't like standing alone with my success by any means. Being of service to others is really important. What we can do together, I cannot do by myself, no matter how much money I have. Right. So family, gratitude, fulfillment, being of service, kindness, finding joy. There's one of my mentors is a guy named David Meltzer. David Meltzer, somebody you should. Oh, you're right. You interviewed David Meltzer. He's my look. I had a question yesterday. I texted him and asked him what to do. He was somebody that when I was lying around at home in isolation when I had COVID, and I was really not clear whether I was going to make it to the other side of this crazy journey. And he popped up on my social media feed. I did not know who he was, even though I had seen the movie Jerry Maguire, and I probably knew his tale, but I didn't know who the person was behind it. And I'm not sure who made it pass through my Instagram page, but he popped up, and he motivated me and inspired me to keep going, right? When I really was ready to give up. And, months later, I reached out to him and I said, I don't know if you know who I am, but when I was down in the dumps and really considering whether I could really go on another day, you came to me in a moment and inspired me. And you are, and look, his mission, after having been successful and having failed, is to no longer be there somebody who is completely consumed with financial success. He's decided his mission is to bring joy to 1 billion people in the world, and he's my go-to. He is my mentor and friend, and I try to follow that suit in any given time. We are confronted on a daily basis by, look, we could, if you remember what Denzel Washington said to Will Smith as he was going up, I'm not sure, to collect his award or on his way to smack Chris Rock. But when you're at your highest point, the devil will find his way in, right? That was one of those great lines that came out of that moment. And it's true. Absolutely. When we're at the top and we're at success, and this week for me was one of my greatest achievements, to be up on that podium where I had never been after 37 years on the floor. All I wanted to do was share the success with the people around me, right? And not think that I'm not all that, but I am what I am. And so, and to be up there and to share the success with everybody up on that podium, to be there representing the New York Stock Exchange, right? To have been honored with to be that person down there to be the face of connecting people and opportunity. It couldn't have been more perfect for me, because that's what I'm about. And it confirmed to me that that's what I'm here for, right? We're here. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time, and see how much we can share that with as many people as possible. Sitting at home alone with a bunch of cash isn't going to do me any goddamn good.
Absolutely, man. Peter, it's been a powerful conversation. And just a quick that you mentioned Mr. Meltzer, man, and I just have to just tribute and honor David real quick for a few minutes, man. David, he's changed my life as well, right? And one of the things he said, say thank you every day, right? This is how you learn to be in receivership. You say thank you every day, right? I went and got the symbol of gratitude, the symbol of gratitude tattooed on my arm, because every time I put my head down and I'm sad, I remind myself to give gratitude for everything, the good and the bad. And David, he popped up on my feed as well. I was able to meet him, and it's been a powerful journey, man. But Peter, this is a powerful conversation. Not even just the gems, but the energy and the passion and the conviction. I can tell that you are a very genuine and authentic person, and I'm grateful for your energy. And I know you said that you're young at heart. You're not an old timer, you're a long timer. I'd love to send you a young, not dumb hoodie. Just let me know how
I would love.
Absolutely. This has been a powerful conversation, and I'm grateful for every minute and every second of connecting with you, man. And thank you so much for being my special guest today. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Absolutely my pleasure. It's really a pleasure. I look forward to meeting in person.
Oh yeah, next time I'm in New York, I come to the Wall Street, the New York Stock Exchange, and look for you. Just let me know where I can find it. Absolutely.
It's a deal. Good luck to everybody out there. You go. Anybody want to reach out to me? I answer everybody who DMs me on Instagram. That's the easiest way to get me. It'd be my pleasure to connect all of your community and to you.
Where can they find you on Instagram?
So Einstein of Wall Street on Instagram, Einstein of Wall Street on Twitter. I just started a TikTok thing. So I'm out there doing some motivational videos on a regular basis. I'm out there promoting things. Everybody who is in my sphere, who I promote, are people I vetted and, who I support, and are people, the people I'm connected to, I'm connected to for a reason, because they're very special, right? There are a lot of people out there. Be careful. There's a lot of bad actors in the space, so just vet the people you're connected to and find inspiration and find some success and fulfillment in your life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Peter. And let me know how I could be of service to you too, sir. So thank you so much.
It's a deal. My pleasure. Be good, guys. Thank you.